Today we're going to talk about another sci-fi classic. It's 1994's Stargate. Yes, the original feature film that came out 3 years before the SG-1 TV series. This film was directed by Ronald Emmerich and written by himself and Dean Devlin. It stars Kurt Russell as Colonel Jack O'Neill, spelled with one L in this film, and James Spader as Dr. Daniel Jackson. In 1928, in Egypt, a mysterious ancient ring is discovered by an archaeological expedition team. The film then jumps forward to 1994 in America, where Egyptologist and all-round super genius Daniel Jackson is giving a talk on the pyramids of Giza. He's not convinced that they were built by the pharaohs of the 4th dynasty. He's then approached by the Air Force and an older lady working with them. They want him to translate some hieroglyphs. I wonder if this old lady is the little girl from Egypt in 1928. Meantime, the Air Force calls to the home of Colonel O'Neill with one L. Since the death of his son, he likes to spend his days staring into space with a gun in his hand. You know what that guy needs? He needs to go back to work without any serious psychological evaluation. He sure sounds mentally stable enough to work as a high-ranking military officer to me. Daniel Jackson travels to a secure military base and meets with the old lady again. His job is to translate the ancient writing on some large circular stone. He immediately begins to make some corrections to the existing translation before Colonel O'Neill shows up. It's quite jarring to see this version of O'Neill, given how radically different Kurt Russell's interpretation is to Richard Dean Anderson's wisecracking O'Neill, with 2 L's. Russell's Jack O'Neill is more of a cold, clinical, rigid by-the-book kind of guy. Admittedly, he did lose his son not so long ago, but nevertheless the character is fairly straight-laced for most of the film. I mean, how could he not be, with the haircut of Guile from Street Fighter 2? So, long story short, Jackson manages to uncover the secret behind activating the Stargate by making the chevrons do their chevron-y engagement thing, and the beautiful blue circle of water appears, an intergalactic wormhole to another planet. They send in a probe first. The probe sends them some images and data. The planet on the other side has the same environmental conditions as Earth, but the military is concerned that a team may not be able to get home if they use the gate, especially because the markings on the other side of the gate appear to be different. Jackson tells them a little white lie. He says he can decipher the markings on the other gate and dial back to Earth. So, just like that, they agree to send him on the reconnaissance mission. So they head off through the Japa Eye. That name wasn't established in this film, and neither was the name Goa'uld, incidentally. All of that lore would come later in the TV series. But I just can't help thinking about those references, which will all become future canon. After transporting to the other side, the team exits the gate room and discovers what looks like a very large Egyptian pyramid. It's a desert world also. O'Neill tells Jackson to re-establish contact with Earth by deciphering the gate symbols. But as he explains, it's not that easy. He needs to find the tablets that help him decipher the symbols. They set up base camp, but O'Neill has brought a failsafe device, a nuke, just in case. Meantime, Jackson discovers a large animal. A desert camel meets a horse with an animatronic head. He gets caught up in its reins and it drags him across the desert so that we can, get to the next plot point. Thousands of slaves working in the desert, much like ancient Egyptians. Anyway, the locals think that Jackson is some important figure because he's wearing the necklace that the old lady gave him. A leader approaches them and they give him a chocolate bar, and he seems to like that a lot. He invites them to come with them. The readings they've taken suggest that these people are mining the same material that the Stargate is made of, so who knows? Maybe that'll help Jackson discover a means of deciphering the Stargate symbols and sending them back to Earth. We now have a nice montage of some walking through the desert. They journey to an ancient city. There's lots of people there. There's a lady who likes Daniel. Here's the problem I have at this point. We're 50 minutes into the film, and there's been some developments. They successfully traveled to another planet, and that's great and everything, but nothing about what's going on right now feels urgent or all that exciting and gripping. There's very little tension overall. Besides the concern about getting home, the sense of mystery and excitement just really isn't there. I always found this first half of the film to be a bit low energy and a real drag. They've gotten to the planet and not much is really happening, and I'm kind of getting bored. Anyway, they see the Eye of Ra symbol, the Egyptian sun god. A sandstorm forces the base camp team to go back to the gate room, which, to be honest, made more sense. I mean, why set up a tent in the searing desert heat just outside a perfectly sheltered and probably much cooler building? And by cooler, I mean not as hot, obviously. Daniel is considered a big shot among the locals because he can write in the sand, and writing is obviously forbidden to these people, but he's rewarded with a gift, the attractive young lady who's taken a shine to him. Anyway, we finally get some serious developments around the 1 hour 3 minute mark when a giant alien pyramid ship arrives and engulfs the entire pyramid that the 4 base camp soldiers are inside. One of the soldiers is killed pretty quickly by a Jaffa, except, of course, they're not called Jaffa in this film, but you know what I mean. I wonder what Teal'c is up to during the events of this film, or, for that matter, Major Carter. She's not in this either. Suffice to say the base camp team are picked off one by one. There's one quite funny moment in the film where Kurt Russell finally gets to inject a bit of levity into the character of O'Neill when he tries to describe to a group of locals the appearance of Daniel Jackson because he's looking for him, and they copy everything he's doing, kind of playfully mocking him a bit. It's quite a nice moment, and O'Neill takes it in his stride. Jackson explains to O'Neill that he's learned that an alien traveler escaped a dying world looking to extend his life. In this film, the aliens were actually bipeds, whereas in the TV series, the Goa'uld, as they're known, are symbiont slugs that inhabit a person's body. The alien, Ra, found a planet rich in life, specifically Earth. He found humans, and he took over the body of one of them. He appointed himself ruler and used the Stargate to bring humans to his planet, hence the reason they're here. There was a rebellion on Earth and the Stargate was buried, so Ra outlawed reading and writing. Jackson has now found 6 of the 7 symbols, but he needs to operate the gate with the 7th one and it's worn away. So they go back to the Stargate and O'Neill plans to destroy it with a nuke. A bunch of aliens show up and transport the team to the spaceship. They meet Ra. They're taken prisoner. A firefight ensues as Ra's soldiers fire on the crowds around the pyramid. Ra has control of the nuke and is prepared to increase its explosive yield and send it back to Earth. The final action scenes are decent, with the aerial assault launched by Ra's soldiers and some great set pieces at the end, with O'Neill leading the slaves in an uprising. O'Neill manages to even get hands-on with some hand-to-hand combat. With Ra defeated, O'Neill beams the nuke onto Ra's ship as he departs. Big Bada Boom follows with an explosion that Star Trek VI The Undiscovered Country would be very proud of. Jackson gets the gate going again but decides to remain on Abydos. Oh yeah, that's the name of the planet. He has a love interest now anyway. O'Neill and his team depart. In my opinion, Stargate the movie is difficult to watch without making comparisons to the TV series. It's quite underdeveloped, obviously, in certain places, as SG-1 would greatly expand upon the lore and characters in significant detail over the course of the 10 years of that TV series. Add on Stargate Atlantis and Universe and the TV movies, and there was a lot of Stargate ahead, although the less said about the awful Origins series the better. Oh yeah, and there was a cartoon also, but I never watched it. I never thought the film was particularly strong. It's decent, not bad. It's largely saved by the solid last 30 minutes. It made $196 million at the box office from a $55 million budget. However, the concept of the story was always better than the execution of the film itself, and that's why it had far more potential as a TV series. The Stargate allows for instantaneous transport across the universe. With a military structure and interesting characters, Stargate had all the elements for a thrilling weekly sci-fi TV series that could rival Star Trek, and of course it did. From this film, a fantastic franchise was launched, though I will always be sore about Universe not getting a 3rd season. Anyway, this film, Stargate from 1994, is still well worth a watch, and performances from Russell and Spader are fantastic. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe for more. Take care, and I'll see you next time.